with a discussion about dichotomous keys. Now, dichotomous keys, if we consider the first part of the word, di meaning two, so we're looking at a particular set of questions which have two parts to them. So we call them these paired questions, and effectively they're typically negatives of each other. So for example, has skin with fur or has skin without fur? And by following these steps, by answering each of these questions, we can actually categorize the organism. But their usefulness is limited to the level of knowledge of the reader. So you actually need to have a pretty good understanding of what each organism is made up of in order to use these. Now we're going to need to practice these quite a bit because they are going to feature in our test. So I've just got up on the board behind me an example, a very quick and brief and simple example that hopefully will explain exactly what's going on for you. So here we have our dichotomous key, and you can see it says it has a hard outer shell. So this is our first question. Does the organism have a hard outer coat or outer shell? If it does, then we go to question 2. If it has a soft outer coat or shell, we go to question 3. So let's say that it does have a hard outer coat or a hard outer shell. We go to question 2. Is the outer coat made of bark? Well, if it is, then we have a tree or a shrub. We have some kind of plant. If it's not, the outer coat is made of calcium carbonate, then we need to go to question 4. So let's say in our example that our outer coat is made of calcium carbonate. We go down to question 4. Does the organism have many legs? Yes, it does. So it's an arthropod, which is a crustacean, or potentially it could be arthropods are also spiders and ants and insects. We don't have, those insects don't have calcium carbonate outer shells though. And then 4, also the second part to it has no legs, so it'd be a bivalve, a mussel or a clam or something similar. So that's how we use dichotomous keys. Now normally they're a bit more complex than that. Obviously I've got limited space on the board, so it makes it a bit more difficult. But we do have this paired set of questions, and each one leads to either another question or to a description of what the animal or the plant actually is, or indeed the fungus or the protist. You will need to be able to use these. Now, in the context of the test, you'll be given enough information about the organism to actually make that conclusion outside of the general understanding that you should have about animals that you see around you. So if it's something that I'm not expecting you to understand, so an animal that is in a different country perhaps, or an unusual animal, I will give you that information. So we have a discussion on using dichotomous keys. So you need to go to Canvas, open up that discussion and follow the instructions there. Hopefully that'll make things a little bit clearer even to what the videos are now. And then lastly we have our practice. Now we're at the end of the chapter. So when we're using the dichotomous key on page 352, you need to classify these 3 organisms. I've deliberately given you the scientific names so that you then have to go and find those common names so that you can understand exactly what they are. Remember, one of our key concepts was understanding the difference between common and scientific names. So you'll need to hunt that down. You'll need to check key terms, which is on page 352 or 353. You'll need to do the chapter review questions, all of those questions on 353 to 355. So that brings us to the end of our chapter 4.2, which will take us all the way to the end of week 3 this term. Good luck, Year 11s. Make sure that you do email, ask questions in class, follow up any queries so that we can make sure that you're going to be successful in this. And hopefully you do that promptly.